Good evening. Me again. Okay, so I'm not sure how many of those in the room joined us at Canterbury Bankstown for the Out There Summit back in 2019. But look, I'm just going to say that somehow things really escalated at that event, and this like mini mosh pit kind of formed during a musical performance of the Punch Boy Boys High School Band 320. Now, I was not a part of it, and I'm kind of a little bit embarrassed to say, but I definitely know that there were at least 5 or 6 people that were part of that group. Some of them are sitting at my table at the back and some over there. But the main takeaway is that extraordinary things happen at these sorts of events, and the Western Sydney Philharmonic is certainly extraordinary. For those who may not be aware, Westphil is an independent, community-based, not-for-profit organisation. They're a registered charity and they operate with dedicated volunteers and a team of music professionals who support the work. So please join me in welcoming the Western Sydney Philharmonic. And if you can't help yourself and you feel like you want to do some interpretive dance or just sway, go for it. This is a safe space, zero judgment.
There you go. Classical music, Western Sydney Philharmonic Orchestra. How marvellous. What a great addition to our city. Max, you want to come back up for a second if you get a moment? Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Christopher Brown, or if you can't see me hiding behind my mask, I'm not crook, but I'm intending to go overseas in about 10 days' time, and I'm staying away from all of you. I got a PCR test to get through, and I got a 5-year-old petri dish at home in kindergarten, so I'm just trying to get through. That was fantastic. To you and the team, congratulations. I heard about this thing, and my mate Kim Williams, who you might know from his time at News Corp, Fox Studios, Music Aviva, whatever. What I didn't know, also a Marsden High boy from Ermington, little Ermo, in the greater Parramatta area, like Dundas. We're always just a little under Parramatta's wing, who's been the original patron of Westville. And we're going to try and do our best to find more patrons of Westville because we want more Westville everywhere. To wit, my friend, on behalf of all these guys, there's a bit of coin to kick you along. I want to stretch from being a patron of the Bankstown Poetry Slam to Westville and all stops in between. Western Sydney has it all artistically. So to you and the team, congratulations, mate. May we see you everywhere.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations again. Yeah, it's amazing, and g'day everybody. Thank you for joining us here for an extended boardroom dinner here at the Novotel. Lots of entertainment tonight. For the rugby league followers amongst you, you'll get the joke. Payne Huss and Albert Kelly got a little stink outside later on to complete the entertainment at the Novotel. But as you saw the TV this week, and we're going to do it when I'm said a few words. I'm going to get some other people up, the creative talent of Western Sydney, up to talk to as well. Before we later pay tribute to our local heroes. But I did want to, in our 7th year of the dialogue now, or as departmental secretaries or council GMs will know, in dog years, that's about 50, if you're running those roles. So we're 7 years old or 50 years old, it feels like. We've been able to do some great things that I went through before and work with everybody on major pieces of infrastructure. But I think the thing that makes us feel best is what we've been able to do for a community. And as part of our launch this time last year, when we honoured the great Tim Reardon for his service to the community as well, we also launched our community fund. And I want to pay special tribute tonight to a couple of people, one of which can't be here because he's one of the 32 people we lost to COVID in the last 3 days. Lost to the room, not lost to COVID, sorry. Wow. My 90-year-old father just came through. We didn't lose him. I was pushing him in, but no, we didn't lose him either. But the wonderful Reverend Bill Cruz, who's down with COVID this week, and I don't know the protocols. Can you tell people they've got COVID? I think you can. Are we through that now? Bill's got COVID. But the poor bugger was going to be here tonight, but the saintly work he does, including with his new food caravan at Liverpool and the work he's doing, and to particularly Dave Harding, who's been helping him greatly, and others. These are a range of organisations that we're getting involved with, and we'll continue to put the money we can put in. But most importantly, and I think they're going to show me on screen the other groups, I can let you all know that we're supporting. A whole lot of people in our organisation come and say, we're looking for charities to support in the West. We want to put our partners on boards of not-for-profits. Well, have we got a list for you? Because it's effectively these groups that are here. Craig's here from Clontarf, the Bankstown Poetry Slam, as you've seen a lot of times. The African basketballers out of Blacktown with Savannah Pride. Refugee Talent. Public Education Foundation will be issuing our next lot of scholarships at the Ignite Summit. We keep having to give more than we want because you see the list and you just can't say no to all of these amazing young kids in Western Sydney and the work doing in public education. The Community Forum, and I know groups like John Holland tipped a lot of money in during the COVID campaign to try and help computers for NGOs. There's a whole lot of opportunity where if you need a hand, if you want a vetted organisation. I mean, we didn't send Deloitte in to do it, but I'm telling you, they look pretty cool to us. We vetted them in a non-legal use of the term. More importantly, we give them our money. So I'm a tight ass. We give them our money. You can give me your money without fear of contradiction to get involved. Or more importantly, get involved in mentoring. Join the boards. Get your teams involved because that often means more. They want the money, but they also would like your support and engagement. So that's one of the great things we're able to do through this organisation. And Westville is the newest logo. It's just made it on our list. So thank you, Max and the team. Congratulations again. I wanted to have a little chat before I'm going to get some other creative types up here. A little quick dessert and then bestow greatness upon our heroes. I just wanted to say in the room we've done lots of official welcomes, acknowledgements and others, so I won't go back over that. I do need to thank Stuart Ayres. Thank you, sir. More than thank you for forging the way to remind Western City teams they can win a premiership, and thanks for looking after it for 1 year. The Eels are back. 86, 2022, it's ours. But thank you, as Adam said, for you couldn't have had a more dynamic advocate for a region, and culminating in the work I know you did behind with West Invest. Is the great opportunity for social and economic transformation. So everything Adam said, plus. Thank you very much, and thank you for a hell of a speech tonight, one of your best. Particularly also to Cameron Klein, one of my patrons, on behalf of our patrons, to St Dominic's boys over there, Ayres and Klein. So second rower, hooker, what was the combo? Pretty much at St Dom's, a pretty viable forward pack. Cameron's way too tall for that. But thank you very much for Cameron, for you, on behalf of two patrons we lost to COVID the last couple, again, lost. Aren't here. There's no vacancy on the board, don't worry. Including the great Mike Murdoch and Kerry Schott, who, of course, for other reasons couldn't come. But I appreciate the support we've had from the patrons since we started in that room at ANZ Stadium across the road. It's been tremendous. And to all of our sponsors, to Endeavour, to Accor, as I said, for helping us both pay for dinner, so we can let you guys come and, it's an expensive lot to feed, but though apparently we didn't go flash with the wine. My apologies. We'll go better next time. I just discovered. I'm not drinking at the moment, so it didn't matter much to me, but apparently we could have done better. Look, it is tough hosting, I'm not sure on the Sermon on the Mount whether someone said, blessed be the host during COVID, but they should. Because literally, well, you are a stunning collection of human beings tonight. There was another 30 stunning of you that we lost in the past couple of days. So it is a real thing. And hopefully we are at the back end of the pandemic, but it's starting to hit. It went through frontline workers originally, then it went through our children who kept partying like it was 1999. And now it's going through their parents. Hopefully it's then through and we can move forward. But it's tough. But it's also for us an election year. So I wanted to take Stuart's challenge. He spoke about when the first responders are gone, meaning government, who steps up. And it's up to us collectively to step up. It's up to groups like ours who live at the intersection of government and community and business to try and facilitate a way to be a bit of infrastructure, an enabler to get your views through to government, through to media, through to investors, to ensure we can do our bit. Because implicit in Stuart's challenge is a challenge I've been talking since Tim and I spoke, he was at DPC. How do we, after a pandemic, wean a government off doing everything? How do we get private sector back to the table? Not only with probity orders when you're actually putting submission down, but in the battle for ideas. What we saw in East London was a remarkable combination of public, private sector and third sector, academia, not-for-profits, all engaged in the thinking about city shaping. And let's not forget, we are talking about city shaping in Greater Western Sydney at global scale. There's nowhere in the world with the ambition of what we're doing, except maybe China, but slightly different circumstance. But in a modern Western democracy, this is a truly remarkable achievement. We tried it once in Australia called Canberra. We're going to do it better in Western Sydney than we did it in Canberra, and do it a lot quicker. It is important too to think then, how do we do that? How do we as a collective organisation use a remarkable date coming up, not only mid-May, when we're about to face a federal election, and Western Sydney is important, but March 25, 2023 is a date firmly in my mind, in Stuart Ayres' mind and others, the next state election. And we've got a year ahead of us working with you to try and make sure your views are known to government, but also don't just go to government with a problem, go with a solution. And the solution being the role for private sector to help deliver the social and economic infrastructure we need to drive a region. So we're polite people that dialogue. We like to say thank you, and thank you for from federal and state governments and local governments, the airports, the metro lines, the light rail lines, the hospitals, the stadia, the museums, the theatres, simply a massive increase, I said, at scale of infrastructure of which we've never seen Australian standard before, right across the system. And we do say thank you quite openly for that, and I think we all lose context sometimes of just how amazing it is. Those who've watched and been involved in the infrastructure space for years, we are doing decadal in 2 years. We are doing that level of investment. Whether you're somebody in the room who's working for contractors, trying to find staff, if you're somebody working the other side of the deal who's trying to regulate, if you're working at a council trying to keep up with planning applications, if you're working in TAFE or universities or schools trying to train staff to go with it, if you're a financier trying to flood all your capital into major projects, it's a frenetic time, and I think we do credit to us all to stop, think, take breath, and remember. But don't take too long, because there's plenty more to do. It is right that we celebrate the high-rise citadels of the Parramatta CBD, likes of which you could never imagine growing up as a kid in Parramatta that you'd see something like Parramatta Square, the Barangaroo of the West, or Barangaroo, the Parramatta Square of the East, prefer it. And we should celebrate everything that's got the private and public sector, council and others have got into that. But you can't celebrate that without thinking about what do we do about the medium density rise towers of our public housing estates in Aids and in Riverwood and in Mount Druitt and Green Valley. We have to continue to think about both and how we do it. It's entirely appropriate to cheer the looming metro lines that are coming. There's wonderful new forms of transport that's going to reshape the way a place like Olympic Park, 10 minutes either way to the 15 either way to the Sydney CBD and the Parramatta CBD. Well, this could be a high-rise community. But at the same time, we've got to wonder, what about our roundabout? The world's worst roundabout, Olympic Park. What about the M4 ramp that we wanted and were promised we still need? And how can we address the other road challenges that afflict things like Mamre Road and Elizabeth Drive and this range of incredible infrastructure that we need to take the next step? What can we all do about it? What about the fast rail report that the then Premier got 2.5 years ago? We're still waiting to see. That Parramatta Olympic Park, the centre of a fast rail system between Newcastle and Canberra and Wollongong, truly putting the central city at the centre of the greater Sydney metropolitan area. It's right to hail the WestConnex and Northern Road, as Stuart said, and the M4 improvements, but what about our Castlereagh connection? It's been a dotted line on the old Gregory's. If you're old enough to remember what a Gregory's is, you're as old as me, the old road maps. It's been a dotted line there for 50 plus years. It's time we built it. Yes, we are backing Stuart in to get a dam wall higher. We need the dam, D-A-M, not dam, wall higher. But we also need evacuation routes. We also need water recycling that Rock and his team are leading, so we don't need the wall to keep as much water behind. It's a three-way process. We're absolutely right to cheer on the massive investment in hospital infrastructure we've seen at Blacktown, at Westmead, in recent times, at what's happening at Liverpool and Campbelltown. But again, when Campbelltown round 2 opens, it's going to be full on day one, so we cannot rest on our laurels. And where is our Bankstown CBD hospital we've been promised? The Premier promised here, we wrote to him today, promised us here at Boomtown, and this just across the road at the stadium, and we want to see that being built downtown where it needs to be, where people like Bankstown can access it, and we can help drive a community that needs that level of investment. We can be proud as even James Roos High, the best high school in the Southern Hemisphere, bar none. 300 metres from my old school and 300 places on my school website from my old school. But my brother went there, he's much smarter than me. We can be proud of the magnificent now tall Arthur Phillip High that his team can preside over. We can be proud of the new Meadowbank and Kingswood integrated TAFEs and schools. But we can be ashamed of what the latte line says about educational achievement either side of that diagonal line. We cannot rest until we fix that and ensure that all the kids in Western Sydney get access to that level of education. And that they can aspire to go to now not only Western Sydney Uni, but UTS and Sydney Uni and UNSW and Wollongong, wants to come into to the Aerotropolis. The amount of universities that are focusing on our city has been a remarkable turnaround, but we need to do more. We cannot leave TAFE as the poor relation in tertiary education, and we've got to make it sexy to have a TAFE degree as it is to have a university degree, and we've got to have the feds help students pay fee relief for students in TAFE as well as universities. We will cheer on the Eels at CommBank Stadium, the magnificent new stadium, and even at the new Panther Stadium, that somehow the member for Penrith, Minister for Sport, managed somehow to convince his government to build a new stadium for the championship-winning Panthers, which is marvellous. But I've been promised 3 times by Cabinet I get an upgraded ANZ Stadium, and We need that. Maybe when the metro starts, but we need that. We can't walk away. And Ned Manoon maybe promised I'd ask for a stadium in Liverpool while you're here, Stuart, so we're done. He's pretty keen. And lastly, we fought in the trenches. We bled for the powerhouse. Ray Hadley abused me regularly on radio, and that's wonderful to have. But we need the Riverside Theatre done up. We need Blacktown to boast the world's best Indigenous art gallery. We need a bigger investment in arts, and we need SBS leaving monocultural arts Harmon and getting its butt over to Bankstown, where it should be, to help us tell our stories about Western Sydney and bring smart creative industry jobs to the west and not keep them only in the city. Look, these sorts of things are really important. And just last in governance, even with, and I recognise Sarah Hill here today, the great work the government's done in giving us a city deal for the Western Parkland City, it's amazing. To have a planning partnership with councils, to have WAPCA, Aerotropolis Authority becomes WAPCA, its own entity. And I'm not saying we've forgotten the middle city, but we want a city deal for the Central River City. You can't call it the Central River City if you're ashamed of the rivers in the Central River City. We have to back Sydney Water in to make those rivers swimmable. And while we're at it, get some beaches out at Penrith Lakes too, so the punters in what was the hottest city in the world a couple of years ago can get a bit of beach relief. So, in saying absolutely how grateful we are for everything that's happened, and we don't lose track of that. We take pride in some of it, and we don't forget the achievement that's happened. There is still so much more to do, so much remarkably more to do, and with your help, we're going to do that. We have Dominic Perrottet and Chris Minns, who are going to head-to-head at that election next March. Both have come out and said the pathway to victory for both of them is Western Sydney. Scott Morrison and Albo will come begging for your money and your votes in the next 6 weeks, as they see Western Sydney as fundamental, with up to 6 or 8 seats, marginal seats up for grabs in Western Sydney. Don't give them their seat cheaply. Let me be the ugly lobbyist on your behalf. We cannot just continue for Western Sydney the 180-something years of compliance, 5 or 10 years of standing up for ourselves. We've got to keep going. It's been a remarkable result so far, and with your help, we all keep doing it. And lastly, I want to thank Stuart and the state government for the West Invest Fund. As Adam said, we've got a briefing tomorrow morning with DPC to go through and just take Stuart's challenge. We've worked really hard for the government to accept that the private sector can play a role in that. You need to partner up with councils or with WAPCA or with the Parkland Authority or some public entity, but there is a role for private sector to back in and be part of those bids. Maybe it's a shopping centre who wants to be part of a fund to improve the town square they operate. Maybe it's an Endeavour Energy on community batteries. Maybe it's a whole range of private sector. Be challenged. Think about this. There's, of the $5 billion, there's about $2 billion of contestable money the government wants for a better amenity. Because in Western Sydney, amenity is productivity. Amenity is not just a nice cherry on top and a nice cup of coffee. It's safe streets, it's local high streets, it's keeping our talented kids in Western Sydney to work and thrive and attract new businesses into Western Sydney. So I don't underestimate, someone dismissed as just an amenity fund. It's exactly what we need, amenity that will drive long-term social and economic transformation. COVID didn't cause the underlying problems since the less fortunate parts of Western Sydney. It damn well highlighted them though, because of other problems. This is our chance to reset. We have to build back better after COVID, to go through all the grief that happened, all the lockdowns and the challenges we faced. It's imperative on all of us to build back better. The government has set a platform to do that. It's put $5 billion on the table to help make that happen. If we don't step up and partner with them, we won't take up Stuart's challenge of what's next after the first responders are gone. And we for one won't let that happen. So thank you very much for another year of your support. Now, enough of my lecture. I want to bring a couple of really bright people up here. If any of you had the chance to see this magnificent movie called Here Out West recently, I know I did. I saw it on my own in the Liverpool Westfield. It was meant to be me and Ned Manoon, and he bailed on me 10 minutes before. So I sat the only person in the theatre, but it was magnificent, enthralled, 11 o'clock on a Tuesday. It wasn't a high season time. But I was out there for a meeting with him talking about the Miller Town Centre renewal and thought, we'll just grab a movie on the way through. Well, I did. He didn't. But what a remarkable expression. I'm going to invite a couple of the writers to come up and talk to us. While they're on the way up, and that's a slow walk, it's a couple of minutes, have a look on screen. I think it's coming to the ABC pretty soon. I saw it in the cinematic release, but it's coming to the ABC. It is a wonderful, think of COVID, it's a wonderful highlight of a suburban Western Sydney experience writ large. So Please enjoy.
All my life, I've slaved in China, in Burma, and in bloody Lucky Pig. We will buy into this perfect house to live in. Just you and me. Oh my God.
You better run. I'm right behind you, bro.
Oi!
Oi, Robbie!
Hey! What's up, man?
Do me a favour, get rid of the ratty. If you dress a bit better, you wouldn't be in trouble as much.
Is that why you moved out? Me and Dad were holding you down, huh?
What's he saying? I don't know. He only spoke to us in English.
Look, I can't help it if your cousin wants me, bro.
She doesn't want you.
You think you're Muhammad Ali all of a sudden.
Oi, chill, boys, relax.
Uncle. Grace. Your granddaughter's name is Grace. Well, Grace will be happier elsewhere anyway.
I presume you've heard
About what?
the baby. The kidnapping in maternity today.
Yeah, I can't do this anymore. I'm moving to Melbourne next month with Elliot. Idiot! We've been together for 5 years and you still don't care enough to learn his name.
Farah, she's not just my cousin. She's basically my sister. I told her I will always protect you.
I hope in the next life I get to be your daughter again. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. And the courage to change the things I can.
All I know is I don't want to be far from home.
Could you please welcome Arka, Das and Claire Cow up on stage with me? Get out of your way. These guys are two of the, I think 5 writers all up? You're 8. I'm always understating. I've never understated anything, so. 18 writers. The eight writers on here out west. You guys have both had great experience as budding filmmakers and started your careers going through. Claire, I think you're a lawyer, like all great movie writers. Oh, you're not? You studied? Yes. Studied law. So don't call me a lawyer. Wow. One of the great insults in the world, I'm sorry. Yes, I studied to be a lawyer too, and I'm certainly not a lawyer. You probably finished though. Could I ask to start with, I'll give you a microphone, how about that? Start with, I'll turn it on. Claire, tell me about the journey. You're a Western Sydney girl. Why did you want to write the story? What's the driver to be part of this project?
Well, I think this is my first screen project actually. I've always loved writing. Didn't really think it was like a realistic career path, but thanks to Co-Curious and Annabelle and all the people there, they put this pitch out for Western Sydney writers just to submit a screenplay and to tell them what our favorite kind of filmmakers were, and I got to just talk about all the art that I appreciated and how a lot of my writing even before that was about place and about where I grew up, because that was the kind of stories I was interested in telling, because I saw so much magic in the world around me. And so I thought this opportunity was a perfect way. It gave us the creative freedom to explore those interests. So yeah.
Arka, you're an old hand at this. I think you won the jury prize for the best film at the Made in the West Film Festival. So this, interestingly, as writers, I think, when you see the movie, it's a number of stories weaved in with a one common thread, but almost done separately, telling stories of Western Sydney. Can I ask, which were both of your stories? So I don't know which one you wrote.
I wrote the third chapter called Brotherhood, and Claire.
Mine's called Closing Night, and it's the one at the very end, and it's about a restaurant closing.
It's beautiful. Coastline. So, Arka, what drove you? What out of this will change the way you want to make movies?
I think it just grounded me more to telling stories about Western Sydney, because I obviously grew up in Western Sydney too, but I hadn't seen Western Sydney represented on a cinema screen before growing up in Australia. And if it was, or if I had seen it, it was quite always from a negative sort of perspective or a negative spotlight, but not nuanced, not in a nuanced way. So I think that's what was important for me with this story, is to tell, my chapter, and that was our collective goal as a writing team and a production team, to tell this story in a nuanced way and portray Western Sydney characters and real life as it is now. That's what sort of draws me to filmmaking, is the reality and the nuance of it. That's my goal, and all the things I write or make.
I know you're the writers, not the producers, but are you hearing that things like the combination that have gone before this? And I must say, David Borgia had a walk-on role in the combination. I'm just saying, if there's a sequel, I can do the Hitchcockian type, silhouette going across. Are you getting the sense that there's a market more conducive to Western Sydney telling its own stories, and them not just being in court shots and people being thrown in the back of paddy wagons and others? Is there
absolutely. I think Here Out West is a leading example of it, to be honest. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a part of the project, but definitely it's what the media has said, and the articles and reviews, and anyone that's watched it, and people that have gone out. I mean, we sold out. We were in the cinemas for about 7 weeks, which is a big feat for a small independent film, to come out without a huge marketing budget and competing with the likes of Spider-Man and, Marvel and those kind of films. And so, to have local people go and watch the film and support it. And then we had so many lovely messages from people saying how it's changed the way that they see themselves, or they finally got to see themselves and their neighbours and their friends and people like that they grew up with on the big screen, and see deeper stories about those kind of people. So I think, I think it's a leading example, and I hope that there are more projects like that. I mean, I know that there's lots of funding going into Western Sydney film making and art, but I know that there's a Lakeside Studios being built in Penrith, which is going to be huge for talent out west. But I think it just needs the structures and the industry, and then I think we have amazing artists in the West, and I think we just need the opportunities, and people can make things.
I mean, I think another thing is that these stories aren't just kind of local stories. They're also a very tangible part of Sydney and our city that a lot of people overseas relate to, because they have their own pockets that reflect this area. And I think because I have friends who live overseas, and before kind of meeting me or learning about the film, they were kind of I didn't even know that there were Asians in Australia. It was very so there's a narrative of Australia that's being sold to everyone around the world. That's because I think fiction does shape the way that we are perceived and the way we are seen as a city as well. And I think I think this is a very global story as well, a very universal story, and I think that's what is driving storytelling here, and why it makes it really important and urgent for right now.
Jackie, so Lakeside Studios for the sequel, apparently they're filming out at Penrith Lakes, so entirely appropriate. If when you do get to see it, if you haven't, you get to see it as Westies, spot the location. It's a whole lot of fun. I know at least at one stage they drove out of the Olympic Park car park into somewhere in Smithfield, came out the door. It was a very instant switch, as you know, locations, and you can spot them as Sydney side, Western Sydney siders can do. It's good. Let me ask you both. You've both got big careers ahead of you still in this. What story needs to be written next? Pitch. There's a room full of investors here. But what stories need to be told? How can government and business get behind this fledgling Western Sydney film industry?
I think that's a bit of pressure. But look, I think why don't we just go big and make a Western Sydney superhero film or something? About.
I said I'm ready to serve, but
some superhero from Western Sydney, that ends up being from the Marvel or DC universe or something. I mean,
Stuart's got a marginal seat in election coming up. He might, if things don't work out, Stu, there's always a role on the big screen. What would we make Stuart? What would your special thing be, Stuart? What would be your superhero? We're all gonna work and come back and tell you what your superhero thing should be for that movie. That's a great idea, though. I
think, jokes aside, I do think it's I'm just saying it as a sort of a huge I guess, an idea of where Western Sydney filmmaking could lead to, I think it's quite global, you know, and I think that what Claire was saying, like it's global cities like London or New York or Paris or, you know, even Bangkok, Tokyo, like they all have their pockets of Western Sydney, you know, and I think that that's something that we never exported to the world. Like I think people always saw Home and Away and Neighbours, and that was pretty much their idea of what Australian, you know, I don't know, the Australian landscape looked like. Me growing up anyway, that was kind of the experience.
I'd love to see a horror movie. I think that'd be a great, great jumping off point.
Ouch, yeah, good. I'm not in that one, I'm saying now. I'm unavailable for that. Just finally, a loaded question for you. I've just spoken about the things like developing creative industries in Western Sydney, and not only for our creative spirit expression, but also the sheer employment that comes from the industry. You only have to look, it's the greatest job out of all time to sit through the end of a movie and watch the credits. And I know in Hollywood they're now saying this produced so many jobs to these people. Something like an SBS coming to Western Sydney, and ABC's taken a little bit and needs a lot more coming in. To those sort of the development of film studios, I know Derribin's looking at something at the jail, WSU's looking at something, Penrith Lakes is looking at something. Does that sort of infrastructure needed to be able to really bring home, in addition to your creative input, the enabling infrastructure that this can make this happen as well?
Well, yeah, I think absolutely, because I feel like I wouldn't have even considered having a creative career or pursuing writing if it wasn't for like existing organisations like Co-Curious and, you know, writers groups in Sydney, Western Sydney, but like a lot of them tend to be like, you know, grassroots organising and stuff, and like having like bigger structures there to support us and to nurture a next generation of filmmakers is really important, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right. Like, we definitely need organizations. I mean, Co-Curious, for example, did this, and Emerald Productions, they got together to do this project to put here out west. We never knew we were going to open the Sydney Film Festival a year later, which is, you know, our biggest achievement that a small independent film in Australia can have. It's very prestigious. At the State Theatre, to a sold out crowd during a pandemic year. That was pretty amazing. We shot through a pandemic as well. I'm one of the actors in the film, and we're all associate producers, so we were on set a lot. And, you know, it was, it created so many jobs, as you said, and people came to the West to shoot this film. Like, they might have not even lived in the West, but a lot of the crew I know came from places like Manly or wherever to come and work on this project, because it was actually one of the very few projects that was shooting that year. So that's, you know, kudos to everybody at Screen Australia as well, and Screen New South Wales for like getting behind the project and making sure that the money came through to help us. But I think we do need to bridge the gap between like grassroots Western Sydney arts organisations and mainstream media. Do you know what I mean? So like we need to find that bridge so that we can actually make films like this on a cinematic scale and on a global scale, rather than making it for a small community that come out to watch it, because they're going to support each other anyway. But I think it needs to, Western Sydney art needs to cross over, especially with music and film and television.
So if you get a chance, and when you get a chance when it comes on the ABC, watch it. It is without a doubt the greatest production about Western Sydney, certainly since Little Fish. Everyone saw Kate Blanchett, that magnificent movie. Again, bleak in parts, but redemption and hope and uplift and real, genuinely real piece. So congratulations on your creative input, to you and your many co-writers, the producers involved, and particularly to those who funded it, and may they fund many more.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Please thank Claire, Gala and Arka.